Happy Sunday! Last Sunday and June Sunday of 2025, that is. Welcome to Let's Talk About You. Summer's in the air, summer's here. I am your host, Camilla Francis, and it's always an honor, always a privilege to have you here with me and me with you on these Sundays. We have a great show today. We're going to be talking about Black excellence. We're going to be reflecting on the great men and women, the fathers, the sons, the businesses, the shared commitment to self, uplifting one another, uplifting community, bringing forth community, reflecting on our June episodes. And I invite you, our listeners, to share your thoughts and views of everything you've seen for these past 3 Sundays on Let's Talk About You. And I love coming in and doing the reflections with Kiana and Crystal. I mean, it's great for us to discuss with you, our listening audience, the behind the scenes, the thought process of what we brainstorm and bringing forth a show to you, and our takeaways from the shows themselves, because we do get a lot. At least I know I get a lot from having conversations with our phenomenal guests. They bring so much light to me, and I'm still on a high. I went to a conference yesterday, the Posh Caribbean. Shout out to those women, Miss Bryn, the Smiths. Shout out to them. They just totally rejuvenated me, gave me a refresher course, and I'm grateful. So that's just my little portion before we get into the rest of Black Excellence, our past episodes. And this is a live show. So, as I said, listening audience, we want you to join in. Just share your points, your comments, things that you like, things you wanted to see. What do you want to see less of? We're open to it. This is your time, and we're here with you, and we're here for it. So come on into the room, Crystal and Kiana, my phenomenal producers of Let's Talk About You, and let's talk about you. These two women are true examples of Black excellence. Point A, point A, equal. These are true exhibits of Black excellence. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And
I say it like
about,
a guest.
oh,
I was
you
like,
are a
yeah.
guest. You are a guest. And talking about Black excellence and reflecting on the month of June, because this is the last Sunday, second to last day in the month. I mean, these days, this year, zooming past. I want to publicly congratulate you again, Kiana. June is definitely your month. Bringing home Emerson, your second Emmy. I am so very proud of you.
Thank
I mean,
you.
being proud of you, I'm still trying to get my voice back because I'm still hoarse. And I would
Thank
not
you.
trade it for the world. I'm
Thank
so
you.
proud of you. Congratulations, continued success. Keep doing exactly what it is that you're doing and you need to do. And thank you for being a part of Black excellence.
Thank you. I don't know
You
what
are
else
welcome.
to say other than thank you. So thank you.
Yes, congratulations, Kiana. It's always exciting, and I share your mom's excitement because she definitely is one to champion, and that's a good thing, right? To
Yeah.
champion your kids to do well and
Hmm.
celebrate them when they do well. You know,
Yes.
so it's
I am appreciative. I just don't know how to respond. So I'm just gonna say thank you.
Well, that's a start. Saying thank you is a start. Let's talk about our
that's a
men.
was that a hint to say like thank you wasn't enough? I'm just saying. Okay.
That's
No,
what
no,
I'm
no,
saying.
no. Thank yous are
Oh,
definitely
because
always
that was a
enough.
start. I'm
Because
like,
she's,
okay.
well, it's a start. She's like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. So, okay, thank you
All
is
right.
the thought, start and finish. I'm just so proud of you, Kiana. So I'm just going to be talking about it from now until ever, never, ever,
I know.
forever and a day. So
Yes.
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
So let's talk about our Black men. Let's talk about our Black men, fatherhood, the connection of the bigger picture and Black excellence. Now, we did our Father's Day show, Crystal and I,
Yeah.
and we spoke about the men in our lives. And I think the whole show, I mean, even Crystal's portion was uplifting Uncle Plunkett. The
Yeah.
majority of that show was just talking about my dad and who he is and how we salute and celebrate him. And I too will forever be grateful to him and I celebrate him. We clash all the time, only mainly when it comes to dealing with what I want to do with my yard. But other than that,
You have a good time.
yeah, he truly is my ace. And I am so grateful to him, and so much so I'm going to publicly say, the Posh concert conference that I went to, I really wanted to go, and I was like, well, I've been there some years back when they were on Scrub Island. That was my first experience, and they've done it here a couple of times, and I always wanted to go. And he's like, well, if you wanted to go, go. And I'm like, well, I have other things going on, so I really can't go. He made it happen. Spoiled child much, yeah, and I received.
Yeah.
So I am so
Lovely.
grateful for him to allow me that opportunity to do something that I wanted to do. And it was everything that I thought it would be and more. It was really a great time.
Yeah.
Well,
Was
Crystal,
it
let's
open to men and women? I was just curious. Like the Posh weekend event, was it open generally? And what are some tidbits? Because I didn't get to go, and I'm jealous. So I
well,
would
you
love
should
to
be
know.
jealous because you missed. I even saw Aisha Hines. She is just such a great, down to earth person. She's the actress of 911,
911.
911,
911.
and you would think that she is your home girl, your sister friend. I met two from what the Miss Sibley from St. Croix that deals with agriculture. I also met the mother of Jojo and Cece Lemonade, and she's just such a great, phenomenal person, and she's just doing such a great job with her young ladies, making them entrepreneurs at the ages of 7 and 5. I mean, I spoke to Brittany, her name is. She is a millionaire. She started her business right in 2018. And she is in your area, Kiana, the DMV. She's in Maryland. And she wanted to have an event business. And I was salivating at the mouth when she was talking about her event business. And, it was just a dream. And what she wanted to do, she wanted to have a business outside the box. And she just went for it. And of course, there was a process, but I was just so intrigued and I just so fell in love with, yes, that's what I want to do. Thank you. So, when you go out and you just need, when you pour out, because even being here and let's talk about I'm pouring out of self, and doing the Let's Talk minutes, just general conversations, being a life coach, being a paralegal, just everything that I do, I pour out, and I needed this refresher and I needed to be poured back into. And that's exactly what I got. And usually when I go out, I have something to say. And at this point, I didn't need to say anything. I just needed to be filled. And I was filled and I was filled. And they just, my cup definitely is running over. And then today, little things happened to try to off settle me some. But just having this conversation and reflecting on how great that experience was for me is so good. We have some true Caribbean queens doing fantabulous, phenomenal things. We hear about some, but it's so good to rub shoulders with them and elbows and sit next to and be in the same room and just have a real conversation about real things,
Mhm.
the economic questions, the fair questions, the thoughts about, yes, anxiety is real, yes, depression is real, and yes, I went through all of this, even trying to uphold and trying to have a business and trying to have a husband and my kids, and yes, my marriage didn't last, but I still realized that I needed to do this for me and I needed to do this for my kids and what's best for my kids. And I went through some ailments, and it was just so great to know the stories that in spite of, you're the you factor. And that's what was my takeaway. I, them, the you factor. Everything begins and ends with you. You have to take
Mhm.
a chance. You have to bet on yourself. It's you. It's definitely the you factor. So I'm high. I'm going to stay high. And then, in a couple of days is my birthday month.
A
So,
month from today is your birthday, actually.
my point is
Literally.
that's a great preliminary going into the birthday month. So thank you, Daddy.
You see, and even his own way, he's facilitating you getting access to all this encouragement. So we
He
need the
is.
men.
He is. He
Yes.
is. And one thing that he always tells you, Kiana, what does he always tell you?
He says a lot of things. You have to be more specific.
Well,
Which
make
is what
yourself
you need to say.
Oh, make yourself happy. Don't let nobody
and
stress you and make yourself happy.
Make yourself happy.
don't let anybody stress you. See, that was a little stress, but I stressed myself. I did that to myself. But at the end of the day, my joy, I'm on cloud nine. I definitely had a wrinkle page and I turned it and I'm
Hmm.
smoothing out the page and filling in the blanks. That's what I'm
Nice,
doing.
Hmm.
So
nice. I love that.
my Black excellence father allowed me that at that opportunity to have that refresher, and it was just great. And the one person that I sat next to, it was a young lady, is a young lady named Denise Humphrey, and she works at Reichol Center for the Arts.
Mm.
And when Girls on the Go had just began, they had this program where they allowed nonprofit organizations to come and see the shows for free, because generally these shows cost money and good money. And these kids, I'm not saying that, some of my girls, I would admit, they won't have the opportunity otherwise, or they may not think of going to a ballet or an opera, or and
Mm.
she made it possible. So when I saw her and we sat next to each other, I was like, Denise, it's been a while. And it was just so great to catch up with her. I know Raikol is not up yet to find out what's going on there. And, she's still giving back, still doing things. I mean, we were at a great conference. And before the conference began, there's this summer program where the kids are, because we used to have something, I know I'm all over the place, but we used to have something called historical theater. It's no more. But she's having a summer program for kids to put together plays and productions. And
Mm.
she was, going over some of the skits. I was like, you're here to put into yourself. And she's like, yeah, but I have to do this for my kids because I told them that I would get it back to them by Wednesday. The love for her kids was still there, that she was still committed to self, but she was committed to them. And
Hmm.
I so love that. And we had a great chat. We caught up. I found out what she's doing. She found out what I'm doing. It was so good. It was so
Yeah. I love women's conferences in general because it's part of our Black excellence story is to also sharpen each other, because there's no way for us to really become, do, and really stay consistent if we don't have a sisterhood, or I mean sister brotherhood, whatever it is. You need a community, that's the right word,
Hmm.
community around you to be able to continue to press forward. And sometimes even if you don't have one, you could go to some of these events and connect and network, like you're saying. Find
Mhm.
the women. They might not live in your country or they come from different places, but WhatsApp is available now in our era. So we're not as distant as we used to be. You don't have
True.
to burn up your call credits to be able to talk to people. You can reach out to people all the time. Yeah. So I feel
It's
like
true.
these are nice.
And one thing also, I don't mean to cut you off. I found a cousin that I didn't even know I had.
Okay. Family reunions.
When the young lady stood up, she said, I can't remember her name now. She said her name is so and so Francis, and she's from Antigua. And I'm like, she may be my
Mm.
cousin family. And then when she told me that her brother's father and they this John Francis, I was like, that's my cousin. You're my cousin. It was so good. It really was. I couldn't pay enough for that. So I mean, and she's doing great things too in Antigua, and she's into athletics and so forth. And I'm like, look at this. Look at
Aw,
this.
aw.
I didn't even expect to come away knowing that I had a family member there. I just thought we were all sisters in the sisterhood connection, but then we
Yeah.
were sisterhood and cousins.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I've been a part of numerous women's conferences, and I do think that they're great. But at one point, I wanted to get away from women's conferences, and I figured, we need to pour into the children,
Mm.
because if we pour into the kids, then we will build the strong women that we need and build the strong men that we need. So we needed to pour in to our youths
Hmm.
and kind of step back away from that, because a lot of and I, no shade to anyone, because I enjoyed being a part of help assisting with putting these conferences together, and it was uplifting, it was empowering, it was building. But this conference was on a different aspect than the others, because the others was inspiring. This one was empowering. The inspiration was there, but the empowerment that I felt, it was on a different level, and I needed that. That's what I needed. So you can't get me off of this hype for the rest of the year.
That,
Sorry.
all right now. For the year. There's a lot of empowerment. You're fueled and ready.
I
I'm
know.
Awesome.
fueled and
Love it.
ready.
Love
I'm
it.
so fueled and ready. So, Crystal, let's talk about the black men in and the fatherhood connection. The bigger picture of black excellence. We've been
Hmm.
talking about black excellence in our women, but I think it's a package, because we still need the men.
Yeah, that's actually why I was asking if there were men around. Because one of the things, so for you, is the pouring into the youth, and that's important. So like we're absorbing all this information, but we also need to pour it out into the youth. And for me, it's the women are becoming so empowered that men are kind of left behind because there aren't as many male empowerment sessions as there are female empowerment sessions, and for whatever reason that is, whether it's men don't want to talk more or whatever. um, I feel like we equally need men in our lives or men in our community to be empowered with this same wisdom. It might have to come from male speakers or however they want to get their wisdom. They just need to get it, one way or the other.
Well, I do believe in my men empowerment, but part of what I'm seeing is men always had the voice. I think a lot of women now, we are just not now, but as of late, we're now being having the opportunity
Yeah.
to have a voice. You remember,
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
couldn't vote. We didn't have a say.
I feel
1920
like
was
there's a,
yesterday.
yeah, I hear you. I feel like there's a difference between voice and wisdom.
There
So
is.
so you could speak, but that doesn't mean that you're saying anything that makes sense. So there's a lot of men speaking as well that might not have any wisdom. Not throwing shade in any way.
It's
They're
the
very
fact, and I
prominent.
feel the
It just
same
is
way.
what it
I
is.
feel that. Trust me, I feel that.
Yeah. No,
I,
right.
Kiana's silence is saying a lot.
Huh?
I said your silence is saying a
No,
lot.
I'm just listening. I think that you guys both have very, very good points. I do think that everyone needs to be empowered, empowering men, women, children, whatever you identify as. I think that people need to be empowered in their own demographics, whether it's based on gender, based on race, based on
Mhm.
whatever. But I do also see the point where it's like the women are the ones empowering the women. If the men need empowerment,
Men
why
should
don't
go
they
ahead.
just like empower? Not, and I know that that sounds insane and a little bit insensitive because we all need each other.
Right.
As much as we'd like to say that we can do things by ourselves, nothing is done in a vacuum. You can't do anything or accomplish anything by yourself. So as
Mhm.
much as we would love or hate to admit it, we all need each other.
Mhm.
Yes.
So while it's important for us to empower others and for our others to empower us, it's also important for us to find a community of people who we look up to, people who we
Mhm.
aspire to, people who are accomplishing great things, not just in their careers, but are great people and giving back to their communities. So the same way that women have women empowerment sessions and courses, I feel like men can do the same thing. It'll obviously look different because the way that you connect with a man might be different than the way that you connect with a woman. I can't say how to best connect with a man because I'm not a man,
Right.
but the men may know how to get their message across better. But what I will say is, like both of you all also mentioned, which is why I didn't say anything because you guys already said what I was thinking, is that there's a lot of people talking who aren't really saying anything, who are talking just because they like to talk, or they're so lonely and hateful that they're like, let me just share these insane takes. And most reasonable people would be like, that's insane. But other hurt people or vulnerable people or impressionable people will look at that person say this insane thing and be like, oh yeah, that's what it means to be a real man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's those things are, unfortunately, I feel like becoming more and more common and have been common since the pandemic. Everyone's isolated. People wanted to
Mm-hmm.
find a voice, so they bought a podcast mic and they started saying insane things. Some of them
Yeah.
ended up in prison on the other side of the world for the insane things they said and did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I do agree that empowerment is important, especially in if we're in this sense talking about Black men and Black fatherhood. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
important for Black men and Black fathers to be empowered, but it's going to take a lot of collaboration to understand what that looks like and how you can empower them to not only meet their needs as a father, like as a man, as a person, like separate from anyone. They need to be able to empower themselves, but then also empower themselves as a dad. What can I do to be the
Mm-hmm.
best father? What can I do to be the best husband? What can I do to be the best XYZ or whatever? And not just, this is what it means to be an alpha male.
Yeah.
Ew. So I'm just so
Yeah.
it's a I feel like I'm just saying a lot of things without coming up with a solution. I don't have a solution,
Well, it's not about a solution because at
but
the end of the day, there's not one solution. There are things that you can
Mm-hmm.
right,
point out, and then based on the information that you're giving, you're building wisdom so
right.
they can know what it takes. You're listing bullet points.
And I think the best place to start in that sense is in community, in finding someone in your immediate vicinity who you can look up to. So if I'm a little Black boy, my parents surrounding me with an image of exemplary Black men, of Black men who I can look up to, being very conscious of the people as a parent who you have your children around. Who do you spend your time with? What are the examples that your kids are seeing every day? Because although you may say one thing, if they see you doing something else or they see you surrounded by people doing something else, then they'll grow up to become people who may or may not portray those traits, negative or positive, which is
Mhm.
why when you're talking about focusing on these demographics, it's still all interconnected because you have to be very, very cognizant from a young age what you surround yourself with and who you are being impressed upon, I guess, or who
Mm-hmm.
is impressing upon you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I just think that we need to be a lot more cognizant of the people that we are around and the things that they say and the things that they do and the ways that they act. And then as parents, I'm not a parent, but as for
Yeah,
parents, I
yeah, Emerson and
oh yes,
Emmy.
yes, 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 my two children, my two Emmys. Other than that, I'm not a parent of a human child. Um, so so I can't speak for all parents, but what I can say that I think is important is to make sure that as a parent you are making sure that your kids are surrounded by people who you don't mind them, I guess,
Being influenced by you.
influenced by.
True.
Right.
And I'm glad that you said that because that is an important point. One of the first conferences that I went to, women's conference, I thought it was very important that there was a man at the women's conference because we needed a man's point of view. And his name is Stefan, and he wrote books about relationships. So he was a relationship coach. So he had great pointers on the do's and don'ts, what women should expect, what women shouldn't do. And then geez, the other young man, his I can see his face, but his name escapes me right now. But he too was a part of the women's conference, and they were giving relationship tips. So even though it's excellent for women on women conferences, I think it's always great to have a male perspective. And I think I've never been to a males conference, but I think a woman should give her perspective there too, because we need that balance. We need that real, hardcore, open
Yeah.
dialogue
Mm-hmm.
from both sexes, so we could really
Mhm.
get the points across.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I do believe in, definitely. I'm a advocate for starting the kids out early, having a village for the children. And as you have that village for the children, they will be great mentors. I mean, you could give a child everything. At the end of the day, you can't give them a mind. They're going to do what they want to do. But once you know that you had instilled that foundation, that's an excellent thing. And we as adults, we need a village.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We need a village because we never stop growing. Adulting is a task
Right.
that we need someone to assist us with. Because
Right.
many a times Kiana gives me advice. She's half my age,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
feel like you can get advice anywhere. What I was listening to, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Kurt Franklin has this podcast he's doing now with called The Den of Kings. He did a Father's Day
I heard
special.
about it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, he did a Father's Day one, and I saw it right after our episode on Father's Day. So it was like the Monday or Tuesday after Father's Day that I saw it, and it was four men, and I can't remember their names. Two of them are comedians. One is an athlete, and then Devon Ellis that plays in Tyler Perry shows.
Yes, 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 yes.
And they were having the round table
Zach.
kind of conversation. Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Zach from Zatima as well. Yes, very handsome.
Yeah, I don't know
Um,
who that is, but continue.
One of my soaps
it's
that
not
used to,
since
when
you're
I
here.
talk,
No,
he
I'm
can't
just
reach
kidding.
me. And he's like, you're not paying attention when you're watching TV. See, I candy.
Okay. Anyways.
But no, but what he was saying was, as men, Deval was saying that sometimes men feel like they can't reach out to other men because they they have so much things taken care of, so they don't want to bother their friend with their problems, and they don't want to also present as weak because we have this false narrative around men that they have to always be strong, and we have it around black women as well. But I feel like for men, it's almost like 2x or even 10x that men shouldn't cry and men shouldn't do this and men shouldn't do that. So the minute a man does any one of these things, we start to label him as weak. And so the openness, at least for men to just show up and say, look, I'm failing, I don't feel like I'm good, I need help, I'm mentally unstable, all these words are things that
Yes.
men aren't open to saying. I mean, it's getting better and better now, but generally, for years, it has been that
Mhm.
men in general just don't say, that they're feeling, challenged, they having
Yes.
issues, they need help, any of those things. They don't cry out. They just you're supposed to suck it up and just keep it moving. And I feel like all these narratives are things that need to be discussed, whether they're discussed amongst women or amongst men. They just need to be addressed. Period, because women are raising men in any case, even if we're not men. Women are part of the raising story. So you have boy children, and you're contributing to how that child grows up thinking. So if he can't
Absolutely.
be vulnerable with you, who is his guardian or parent or whomever, he'll go into life thinking that he can't do it. And it's not acceptable for a man to cry, or it's not acceptable for a man to do these things. And I feel like all of that is what makes, you know, being a man sometimes difficult. So I have a soft spot for men in general. Just in Not that I don't have a soft spot for women. It's just that, I mean, in general, I studied like weird statistics, and this might be a uncanny one that is totally left field, but even in courtship, women don't understand the experience of, you could be an ugly woman and still find a man, but you can't be an ugly man necessarily and find a woman just like that. Like, so there's more male
Oh, that's
loneliness
I
in the
true.
don't
world.
really agree with
I
that.
don't agree with that
No, but this is
I
statistics.
don't
This is
agree with
just
that.
I'm like, I've
this is
seen a
just
lot of gorgeous women with a lot of.
and usually if that's the case is because he has money. So it's not necessarily that he is just a ugly man for general. So and this is not me saying, this is just
Mhm.
statistics says that the male loneliness is like at a all-time high because men can't necessarily just walk in the door and find a man just like that. But as a female, you could be butters, as they say, and still walk in a door and find somebody who's willing to hang out
It's
with you for the
pretty
night.
inside.
Exactly. But we don't
I
go
was
around saying men are pretty inside.
But
That's all.
I
But
will
I
say
was like,
this.
I
You,
don't think that men would approach j- an
Yeah.
unattractive person. I just don't think so. I feel like if maybe she approached him, he would be like, sure, why not? But like
But reverse that
that's
then.
never the first choice. It's always
well,
a
it
why not
depends. It
situation.
depends on because it could be like she has a great body. It's just so many things. Because at the end of the day, we eat with our eyes, and when we see the other person, we see the other person how they show
Absolutely.
up.
Mhm.
So it's the same thing as eating with our eyes. I used to tell Kiana that a lot. I don't want my plate to look like that because I eat with my eyes. So she had
But
to
then
give
that
me a pretty
analogy
clean.
is true. But
But
I
it's
feel like
true. It really
but
is
in
true.
but if you
We don't
flip
eat
that
with we eat with our eyes. But
absolutely.
and to come back to your point about even before the statistics
Yeah.
and men's behavior, too many times men have this false narrative that good behavior is bad and bad behavior is good.
Mm,
You're the man. Yeah, you have
hmm.
all those. You
Macho.
da.
Hmm.
But they're less celebrated for being good and celebrated for being bad, and that cycle has to stop.
So, hmm.
That cycle truly has to stop.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it could be a combination of what was instilled or not instilled. It could be a combination of what was in them. It could be a combination of the fact that they're fighting their own internal demons,
Mhm.
whatever it
Mm,
is. But that needs to stop. But the one of the many huge, fantabulous things about social media, these platforms, therapy can be for free.
that it's
Yeah,
more
I feel like
There's
a
accessible
lot of
no
now
people
that.
than it
don't
has ever
talk. I
been.
feel
I
like
mean,
they.
they're the bad things that are out there too that they can see and gravitate to. I'm not going to say it's not. The bad things could be there too, but there's think times that they can have the Mel Robbins on podcasts and the Shakurs and all those other people that offer things for free.
Mm,
But we really need to take this opportunity to, because I think we're going through a transition as crying for help. We realize that we do need help.
hmm.
I really think so. And I think that's one of the reasons why Kirk Franklin is doing the den. Because I did see that a clip. I didn't see the entire interview, but I did see the clip of Deval speaking to Kurt about that and other things on his podcast. Because I do watch his podcast with he and his wife, and I enjoy watching Kadeen, and I really celebrate her because she's a Caribbean woman too.
Yeah.
Well, her parents are. They're from Jamaica. She's from New York, so I celebrate her too, and the fact that we're bringing awareness. So now is the time for us to really do the soul searching, the men, and then make it okay, and make
Hmm.
it okay.
Yeah. We need
Too
to
many
say it
times,
enough till we convince everyone else that it's okay because it's
yeah,
in the
it really is
repetition that we
okay,
will start to get a
and a
little
lot of
more
time,
comfortable.
it could start with the clergy, even in the churches, because there's just too many machoism on the pulpit. Yeah, I said it, and we need to come to the point of normalizing that problems happen, and it's going to be more than just pray about it and get over
Mm,
it.
I think this
absolutely.
all though does tie back to the idea of fatherhood, and even for people who don't have their
Hmm.
birth fathers in their lives for whatever reason, having an influential father figure, having a loving father figure in your life, whether they are biologically related to you or not, I think is important for any child's development, male or female.
Mm-hmm.
In learning, how to act, learning how other people do act, learning the
Mhm.
right ways to cope with things, the right ways to respond to things, because there's some things that a mother can provide that a father cannot. There's some things that a father can provide that a mother cannot. Both
Absolutely.
are necessary. And, if you're a single parent, it's never, I would never put blame on a single parent for being a single parent. I never
Thank
understood
you.
blaming. I never understood blaming the parent who took the responsibility on to take care of
Yeah.
their child rather than the parent who left. That to me doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But I do find that a lot of people end up resenting their single parent because they feel like, oh, you took this thing away from me. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying that will completely cure this misguided anger, but what I am saying is, if you're a single father, having some sort of um motherly figure for your child, and if you're a single mother, having some sort of fatherly figure for your child could very well help in their development and help them become more comfortable in speaking out, help them become more comfortable in sharing their emotions, help them become a lot more comfortable in their manhood, in their womanhood when they grow up. So that's why I thought that you guys' conversation on fatherhood was so important, because while no parent is perfect,
Okay.
there are things, this is not about you. there are things that there are things that they can teach you and provide for you, which is why it's so important to, be mindful of who you have kids with. And then
Mm-hmm.
once you have the kid, be mindful of, who that child is surrounded by to look up to.
Absolutely.
But then once you're an adult, because once you're an adult, it becomes a lot harder to break people out of a mentality that they've grown up with for so long. Because while
Yeah.
I agree that a lot of times men are not encouraged to speak out about how they're feeling, and they are sometimes have misguided things of honesty, like in some of their minds, it's like, I'm going to do a bad thing, then I'm going to tell you that I did the bad thing, and you have to appreciate that because you said you like honesty. And it's like, well, no, that's not how that works, because like I'm also allowed to be angry because that was insane. But
Right.
true examples of honesty being to live an honest and earnest life, to
Yeah.
live your life authentically, to be, don't do a bad thing. If you know the thing is bad, maybe like don't do it, And I think that these are things that are harder. These are habits that are harder to break out of as an adult, but it is possible. So if you see someone in your own space sharing all of these like crazy takes or doing insane things or just not just call them out on it, male or female, call them out on it. It's all about community, and sometimes friendship becomes uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and it's supposed to be uncomfortable because you can't grow it in comfort. So
Amen.
sometimes you have to, as a good friend, if you want the best for your friend, sometimes you have to point out where they are, I guess, going astray.
Yeah.
um and sort of reeling them in, and then you can be that community figure, you can be that influential voice for your friend. And in the same way, because we're not perfect people, when when our friends see us doing something crazy, they can also feel comfortable opening up to us and be like, actually didn't like what you did, that hurt me, I didn't
Right.
enjoy that, I would prefer it if you did. Just having an open and healthy dialogue with one another, instead of, if someone calls you out on something, being on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I it starts young. That's what I'm like, you have to start from a young age. But even in adulthood, I think there are ways where we could be that sort of, I don't want to say maternal or paternal figure, but we could sort of be that supporting figure for the people in our lives. And I think that that is like a direct contributor to us as Black people, all three of us, contributing to Black excellence. And being part of that is calling out areas that aren't so excellent, a little less than excellent, calling out areas that are, that may need work, because not because you want to hurt their feelings, and make sure you watch how you speak. Don't just say anything just to say it. But you want them to grow, and you want them to be better, and you want them to want that for you. So take who they are into consideration and speak your truth in the best way that you think they will be able to grasp it and learn it and understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Heard. Very much so. And
Well said.
something
I
that you
could say
said,
better. I can see why you got
yeah.
it.
Oh, goodness. Anyways, let's just go.
No, I'm going to bite at that bone until and chew it up and still bite on it. So
Yeah,
let's
make
talk
sure it's
about
white, white
Look,
when you're
Crystal had
finished.
something to
You
say.
gotta
Don't
make
cut her
sure
off.
it's white, white.
yes, white, 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 white.
White,
Go
white,
ahead,
white. Suck it
Crystal.
dry. No, no, I mean, I'm all for celebrations. I think we don't celebrate each other enough. So I'm always the 10x on the celebration. I wasn't like that before, but learning as we go along that we don't celebrate the small wins enough. We don't just period. We just don't celebrate enough. And then, we're uncomfortable sometimes in celebration because we're like, well, it was just that little thing. I just did that
Yeah,
small.
because we were taught to
Well,
hunker down and be humble. Don't talk about it.
right. It's like
And if they
let's
don't
let's
celebrate you, then it's not real. And that is such a lie.
That's not true. But something Kiana said earlier, which is something that you said, with identifying people who, because you might be, I mean, my mom was a single mom. Like, I was fortunate to have like male figures around me that ended up playing that fatherly role. Not so much that they wanted to be my father, but more so just that male presence then in my life. And something you mentioned on the show, Camilla, was about finding coaches because there was like, sports coaches that step into play and they give guidance. And you find that a lot of males who play sports end up having some form of integrity and principles that come from their coach if their coach is a grounded person. So I say that carefully because you have to have the right coach.
Yes.
So if you have the right coach, then they can instill values that maybe if you're in a single parent household with a mother, then you can get that help and assistance from your coach. And they can not necessarily play a fatherly role, but be that male figure that you can look up to. And so that's actually leading into a question that I have. Do you guys have like male role models that you actually look up to? And Camilla, I know your dad is amazing, but somebody other than daddy this time.
Oh yeah, well yeah, I do. I'm matter of fact, I saw him yesterday. William Smith Sr. He was my FBL, one of my FBLA advisors. It was he and his wife, the late Cecilia Walter Smith, and they took us all in like we were theirs. We were always at their house, and it wasn't just during the school hours FBLA meeting. It was on the weekends when we did community service, and they gave us the love of community, and that's why I always have to give back because
Mm,
they taught us community. It's not just you. You want things better, then you have to make a difference. And if it's picking up the garbage on the street, that's going
yeah.
to make a difference. And that's one of the things that we did. And I hated picking up garbage on the side of the street. And one of the places that we picked it up was at Cookie Point in the cemetery. And I was like, I ain't going in no cemetery to pick up garbage. But it was the community. And, one of the great things was if it wasn't for them, it wasn't that I wasn't getting out the house. And it was
Right.
early on a
That's
Saturday morning. I didn't go anywhere, and they gave us so many experiences. It was the first time I stayed in a hotel. It was Frenchman's Reef, and we stayed there so often when we had our FBLA conferences, and it
mm,
just became the norm. I mean, I had great experiences at All Saints, but when I got to CHS, and I hooked up with the Smiths and being a part of they taught us community. So
mm,
Mr. Smith to this day, when I see him, is Daddy and his hey daughter, and so he's always been a great influence and great male role model in my life. Um, right now, I have another role model. I'll just say RB, and he has been a great influence in my life and Kiana's life, and you know he's opened us up to so many experiences and things that he thought that we should have and things that we should do, and even ideas that I didn't think about. He thought that I should do it not just for me but for my
mm,
daughter, and
mhm.
what will be. And he always gives me a perspective on getting things done, even with things with the house. He to this day give me perspective. So RB, shout out to you. So I do have some great role models in my life that are males.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
those two I could think
know.
of right now.
I don't know if I do. I don't know. Whenever I think of the people who made an impact on my life, it's almost always women.
Cool.
So I don't know if I would say that I have a
Can
male
do.
role I don't know if I've had any role models actually. I don't know if
Other than
there
me.
there are people in my life who I think have been very, very influential in different
Mhm.
areas of my life. And there are a lot of people who I have learned different things from, whether it has to do with work or learning things about myself or learning how to act or learn, like, there are people who have definitely encouraged me. If I
Mm-hmm.
had to choose one, I guess I would say my dad, Leon Coram. Shout out to you. Hi. He's not watching. But he is working right now. So he's not watching this. But I would probably say him.
Yeah.
He's not my biological father, but he is the person who I refer to as my dad always. He's always considered himself a father to me. He introduces me
Good.
as his daughter to literally everyone, including his family and siblings and his other children. And he's I what I've appreciated the most about him is that one, I've seen work ethic with both of my parents. And I think that that's something that's been truly inspiring. It's something that makes me honestly value rest to see how much they work, if I'm being honest. Watching how much they work makes me want to like sit down.
You know.
But they are
I love
both
it.
incredibly hard workers. And when they say that they want to do something, they make sure that they can do everything in their power to get it done. And I
Got
think that
it.
that's something that to me has been very, very influential.
Mhm.
The fact that they have never, when I said that I wanted to be able to do something, they've never questioned how
Mm.
realistic it is. They're
Mm-hmm.
just like, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I really appreciate that. I know we're talking about dads, but especially this one over here on the on the live, she's like
Yeah.
the queen of delusion. She's like, why not?
Love it.
You can,
Love.
like, literally, why not? I think I showed her. I was like watching a show. This is so unrelated. I'm gonna get back on track, but
Don't worry.
I was watching a show and I was like, oh my gosh, mom, look at this man. He's so cute on this show. I was like, it's my celebrity crush. She was like, yeah, date him. What? What are you talking about? What?
Okay.
She was like,
Well,
why not?
why
She's like, I
not?
don't see why this isn't a realistic thing. And she was dead serious. So my with that is my whole point about that is that both of my parental figures in
Yes.
my life have been very, very supportive to
Yeah.
things that I want and things that I didn't want, but they thought they saw in me. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say that if I had to choose a male figure, it would be him because he's worked hard, at least from my perspective, my whole life. And no
Yeah.
one is a perfect person, but the way that I see him work and the way that I see how he loves his kids, how he loves his grandkids, how he loves his spouse, it just to me is very, very inspiring. So if I had to choose one, he's the first name that popped into my
Love it.
head.
Love it. And for me, it's as I said in the show, I have lots of friends who I really appreciated that really held me because of the fact that my mom, as I was in my like formative years, as they call it, so early teens, she worked. So we were together, just the two of us, and she would work night shifts. So I had a lot of male friends who were just friends,
Mhm.
and they would come over, sleep over until like 4 in the morning when my mom gets home, and then go home to sleep a bit more to go to school. And I just had a good network of male friends and lived, I mean, they're friends with me till this day, that have always been like protectors and guides and everything else, because I didn't grow up with a dad.
Mhm.
My mom dated a gentleman that everyone thought was my dad, but I would shout out my friends. Like, I have a network of male friends, and they know who they are. Too many of them to mention because I might forget somebody, and then be like, "Oh, you didn't call my name." I don't want to do that. So I I'm always an advocate for oftentimes you hear people say like women and men can't be friends, and I highly disagree with this statement,
Me
just
too.
Me
because
too.
I I feel like you have to be really weak that every man that come around you just want to be with. Come on. Like, do we have no self control at all?
Thank
Like,
you.
like it's not because he with me every day that means that that's a intimate relationship. This is just a really good friend, and I love him dearly, and I want him to be successful, and that's as far as it goes. No, nothing added, nothing taken away. So I'm advocate. I feel like that's such a toxic. I might go off on a tangent, but
No,
okay.
that's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Thanks
wrap
for
it up.
the patience.
Yeah, I feel like there's such a stigma around that, and when I hear married women say it, it comes from a place of such insecurity and everything else, because we don't know how to be confident in the relationships that we have. So because another woman is around, we automatically associate that with sex and everything else, and I think that that's not necessarily the case in many
Mhm.
I
cases.
could write a book.
Listen, I
I
I
promise.
I definitely agree that like men and women can be friends. I will say that I do understand where the insecurity comes from. If we're talking like
Definitely. Yeah.
statistics as well, a lot of men either have dated their female friends or think about
Right.
dating their female friends or
Yeah.
would date their female friends, have
Yeah.
cheated on their partners with female friends. So I'm not saying that the fear is unfounded,
Hmm.
but I definitely do agree with you as someone who has male friends and male friends that I think are inspiring. Not a ton, um, but it's always very strange to hear like an adult person be like men and women can't be friends. Are you good? Like
Like that's not
that's
even
just
realistic.
very 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 very
And I'm like, you work with people all the time, so who I work with
And I'm
can be
like,
a
are you
friend. You
attracted to
see people
everybody?
every
Just
day.
like don't be friends with people you're attracted to if you don't think you can control yourself. If you need all your friends of an opposite gender to be ugly in your eyes, like do that, I
Yes.
guess. But it's very strange to me. But I do
Yeah.
love that you were able to have that community of people surrounding you, kind of like your own
Yeah.
group of protectors in a way.
Yeah.
And that's
By God's design to keep me
yes.
in line.
Yes.
Because maybe if I didn't, maybe I didn't have so many male friends. One, I didn't learn how frivolous men could be, because now I've had preview to all the backstory of all the different
And you see
formats
that
of
that's
males.
why I was saying it's important for men to be at women's conferences so we can get
Right.
their take on things.
Insights.
So we could learn how
Yeah,
frivolous they
insight
are.
is my perspective is important, and that's why I have all my male friends, and uh,
Yeah, you can't play
I'm
you
not.
can't play tricks on me. Like I've seen it all. Like and I've heard it all. And I've been behind the scenes of it all. Like I have too many male friends for you to try that. Like it's really, really wild. But no, not
I would
only
just
that.
make the facial expressions without saying anything because
But no, in general, yeah, I'm very, very happy to have had um the men in my life. And as I shared on the show, is like I have my brothers who were beyond protective, and then which I still have, by the way, um, which is wild. But then I also had really great friends, and they are the. I wouldn't say all of them are role models, but I appreciate who they want to be, and I think that was something in the show with Melissa that we talked about. Like excellence doesn't have to be perfect. It's not necessarily like a straight line. This person can't make mistakes. Like we put so much pressure on this like
for sure.
perfection that we can't be human. So
Yeah.
like it's not to say that these men that I know they are perfect humans. They've done their things, but in general, black excellence means that they are conscious, they show up, they're present, they support their communities, they take care of their families, and they might not be doing any of those things perfectly or more than the other, but they're there. They show up, you know? And I think
Mhm.
that's a really important factor that we all need to consider. If I'm showing up and I come and I try and I'm consistently coming and trying, and I haven't given up and I'm not necessarily just blatantly doing bad things,
Mhm.
then give a little grace to the men in your life. They need it in general.
There's this
Yeah.
running joke that says we don't want potential.
Mm,
So,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, we're all growing. We're all growing. But that's
Yeah.
that. Who
Yeah.
knows about that. And this has been just such a valuable conversation. We have a whole list of things to talk about, but this one topic is going so well and focusing on the ins and outs and just bringing out the reality. You, our listening audience, you could put in your 2 cents. We want to know what your thoughts are, what you're thinking. What is it that you want to share? As Kiana, Crystal, and I talk about Black excellence. Because that's you as well. That's you to our listening audience. You just tuning in, supporting us here. Let's talk about you. That's excellence in its own.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we appreciate that. I will, push the conversation along a little bit to talk about our guest last week, Melissa Darville. I was really impressed with her. She was just, had so much to offer. She was definitely a callaloo of motivation, a callaloo of ideas, of
Hello.
Black excellence, a thriving, growing Caribbean woman. So much so that she wants to resonate with self, and not just
Mm,
self Melissa, but self, her roots, her African roots. And I thought that was intriguing. And,
mm,
how do we stay motivated when the odds are stacked against us? And that was one of the many things, because she's done so much even in her community, but then the odds got stacked against her, even though she was doing well, because she didn't want to play into the
the
bad,
powers that be.
yeah, the power struggle, for a lack of a
Mm,
better word.
yeah. Yeah. I
So
think
what are your thoughts on that?
Melissa.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
Crystal. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, sorry. I Melissa has been like, as Kiana said, like I have more females that I look up to than males as well. And Melissa is one of those people for me. Because as she was going through, Melissa, I mean, everyone, if you've watched the show, you see how jovial she is. And even when she's going through things, she's still that same energy. And that I think is like, I
Mhm.
know like sometimes we say that people should, be open to be, if you're broken, feel broken. If you need to cry, cry. And I feel like Melissa has done all the things. So she feels her emotions, but she can
Mhm.
also still show up in all her brilliance with a smile on her face and do what she needs to do despite of the situations. And this is something that I'm very, very, very impressed about, because there's so many people, and not to knock anyone else's experience, it's just that I appreciate this character in her, because some of us, we go through things and we're just a mess, but God's, in his grace, he has given Melissa a level of peace that gets her through things, and a level of grace that she can come out on the other side. And like the Bible says, like she's smelling like smoke, like she comes out on the other side beaming. And I'm like, okay, well, how, because I know the backstory. Like I might not have come
Yeah,
out of
she
this.
she she reminds me of the Bible verse, "Beauty for ashes."
Right. Like she's really truly resilient, and I believe that, like, as I mean, I only know Caribbean women, so I can only big us up, right? Not that I only know, but I've lived among Caribbean entrepreneurs and women. So I feel like Caribbean women have a stick to ity and a energy that is amazing. Like Caribbean women will dance it out, they will sing, they'll do whatever they gotta do, and you'll come back and you'll meet them with the same level of energy, and it's almost like a secret sauce. Maybe it's in the water or whatever it is. Maybe the fact that we could go to the beach, whatever it is that is in us, I feel like there's something that we can come through on the other side. I'll use one example. I was listening to a TikTok random. The young lady was saying that you can't tell her anything now that her mother hasn't told her when she was growing up, because if she doesn't look good, her mother be like, "That's an ugly dress." And as Caribbean women, as Caribbean people in general, we're not that gentle with critique. For it is what it is. We're very direct, and that builds us up in some ways,
Mhm.
for the most of us. But we have a level of like thick skin because of our culture that gets us through certain things. And when I watched the TikTok video, I had a good laugh about it because I was like, that sounds just like my auntie. My auntie see you, you're in for it. Like she can just tell you what it is, and she love you still. There's no hard feelings. It's not like she's saying it out of bad intentions. You're just so accustomed to just critique, and you go through things and you just bounce back. Um, whether that's a good or bad thing, I guess that's up for debate. But I feel like this is the one thing that I appreciate: one, about Caribbean women, and two, that Melissa has this character. Yeah.
That kind of reminded me of the Julie Mango skits because she cracks me up, and it's like that happened to her too, and that was one of the things that I have to say about generational trauma because the same thing she experienced in Jamaica, right here in the Virgin Islands, and someone in Kentucky and Tennessee, but that's another thing. What motivated me with about Melissa is her authenticity and the
Mm,
fact and her transparency, and
mm,
she was willing to share. She didn't have
mhm.
to, but she wanted to.
Yeah.
She was always willing to share, so she didn't gatekeep anything. Just like how she did it, she believed you can do it. Everybody deserved an opportunity to, and whatever that to is, you fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And that I appreciate. She's willing to share. And
Hmm.
the other, one of the other many things that I appreciated about her is she loves to learn. I thought I was love to learn. She loves to learn. I'm not a researcher. That's Kiana's department.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she researches everything and does this and that. I think I do enough research for work. When I'm done with that,
You're done with it. Fair.
uh,
Yeah. And I think yeah, that's really cool because she's gone from, and even things I appreciate the fact that we have these like spotlight opportunities to talk to people about their Caribbean story and their
Mhm.
entrepreneurship journey. Because even things that I didn't know, because I've known Melissa for a few years now and still didn't know some of these backstories. Like she was a teacher and then she implemented some learning principles and then went on
she
to
had her
open her
own
own school.
school.
And it's like, in which lifetime did you get to do that? Because we're around the same age. So like
Yeah, and when she was like 20 years ago, and I was like, 20 years ago, girl, you're only 2 years old. How would that happen?
it's like, at which point did you do that? And then you went into manufacturing, you started your own ice cream brand, and then you went to do this. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you hear the stories of some persons and you're looking at yourself like, what did I do with all my years? Like, there's so much that could be done. But what I appreciated was the fact that she never believed that because she was a teacher, she had to stick to being a teacher for the rest of her life. And I think oftentimes we feel that way. Like if we get into a career, we have to do that career always, and we can't stop and quit and move on to something else. I see you nodding, Kiana. It's just like
She's trying to tell me something, some,
I actually wasn't nodding about you at all.
just drink
Um,
my water.
I was actually nodding because I'm like, that is a question that I've asked myself because I do
Mhm,
love researching. I do love writing. I do love producing. But sometimes it's like, can I try something else? Can I do something else? And then there are the times when you ask your questions, not
What?
just should I do something else, but like, what can I do?
mm,
What do I know how to do other than this? Do I have any other skills other than
mhm,
what I'm doing right now? So
yeah.
that's why I'm nodding because I'm like, that is definitely something that I find admirable is people who can just switch lanes and use what they've learned to take to another venture that's completely different than the one they have now. Cause I don't know if I would know where to even start with that.
Well, start with you.
That
And
part.
But
um
it's so much easier said
no,
than done.
no, I know it
It's
sounds like
such a big
cliche, start
statement.
with you. I know it does, but what I'm saying is, some of the things that she spoke about, she didn't know that she could do it. She just
Right.
took a chance on herself. She didn't know
Mm,
if she was going to fail or succeed. And some of the things that she mentioned that, she thought it would be a bad thing because she was giving up on her students because she started with two
mm,
children and then she had a whole school, you
Mm.
mm,
know. So, and then after those years, she spoke about how it was taking a toll on her health. It was
mm,
taking a toll on her life with her family.
Mhm.
and she had to switch it up. So,
Mhm.
and on her journey to find health is when she found this ice cream, because she's like,
Okay.
I'm not going to go out and buy something that may be bad for me. Let
Mhm.
me make it, because I'm trying to be healthier and at a better
Mhm.
place for me, because her body was taking a toll. She had a failed marriage because she wasn't given that time. Because
Mhm.
sometimes when
Mhm.
you tear yourself apart, you stretch yourself so thin. I'm helping you, but I'm hurting myself and my family. But you're thriving, you're floating, but I'm drowning. And she
Mhm.
drowned, and she
Mhm.
had the only way that she that life raft was her deciding to stop
Mhm.
and try to pause. And in her pivot, that's when she found something else. So I say
Mhm.
all of that to say what Melissa said was, even in your pivot, and when you think that you're drowning, or what
Mhm.
you know, something that you don't want to stop because that's all you know, sometimes you fall into something that is something new. All she
Yeah.
wanted to do was be healthy, and she had
Yeah.
an ice cream brand.
Imagine. It
So
reminds me of sorry for cutting you. As you're saying it, I just see Tabitha Brown coming up in my mind constantly, because she did a similar process. It was like her health wasn't having challenges health
yes,
wise, and then she just started cooking different. Then decided to start the podcast because God said, film yourself doing these cooking things, and then it turned into what she is now. It's like
yes,
that was a pivot. Like she was planning on being an actress. She was making cooking shows was not necessarily
exactly,
in
and
her
that led her
wheelhouse,
to where she
right?
wants. And now she's on people's shows. I mean, the Sherry Shepherds, you know, the Tamron Halls, the
She has her
all of
own hair
the
care
talk
line
shows
now.
she's on.
A whole exactly a whole hair
So,
care line.
and then
Um,
people want her on
so
all these other shows and sitcoms and so forth. So
right,
you
perfume.
will decide whenever you're ready. You
Yeah,
will know when you're ready. My
yeah.
only prayer for you is, I don't want it to be a health thing, but you will know when you're ready.
Right. Yeah. Let's not.
And that's the
Yeah. Let's
truth.
not have
I
that.
don't
Let's
want
not
to,
make
I
it
don't want that to be
about the
your
health.
story. I want you to have another story. But only you can make that happen when you're ready for that story to happen. The pages are empty. You fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
Yes,
But I
ma'am.
like what you said just now, Camilla, on it's a you thing. Because if we even use Tabitha and her life journey as an example, she used every pocket of her life, her you story, to create products that matched her life. It wasn't
Mhm.
necessarily
Her hair
outside of
product. Oh,
herself.
yeah, I like my
It
hair.
was just,
Her hair product and all of that.
yeah,
Yes.
it's her things. So it wasn't necessarily like she went outside of, what she knew. She just
Mhm.
stick to that one thing. And as she continued to grow and figure out things, she just explored and explored and explored as she went along. It just continued to come to her. So I think that that's a very good tip. And in getting people to understand that we don't have to necessarily stick to one thing for the rest of our lives. We can switch it up and we can take a risk, and how we take that risk might look different for everybody, but yeah, we can do it. Yeah, I love
And
it.
remember, just remember those delusional parents. You could do everything.
You can do anything.
Everything. No, I never told her she could do anything.
Oh,
I told her she could do
everything.
everything.
That's right.
Remember
Yeah,
those
anything.
delusional parents.
I love it. The show was really good, and I really appreciate Melissa for being on the show and everything else, and inspiring us in her own way, just through her life and her story. I feel like
Yeah.
there's so much people in our community that if we talk with each other enough, we will get our own pockets of motivation. Because in our
Mhm.
communities, I'm sure if you talk to your friend and you start to share stories, you'll find that people are conquering things every single day, and they might not be doing the mega things and getting book deals and all of this, but all the small wins, like we were talking about
Exactly.
earlier, is
All the wins.
important. All the
And
wins are
yes, it's
important.
like Melissa was the gate last weekend, was the gate to open to end my week yesterday with the conference.
Mm,
because everything that she discussed, the ladies discussed and
Yeah.
more. And it was sub topics and more. So it was just Melissa kicked it off for me, and I ended it with last week with the conference yesterday.
Mhm.
So she definitely, I was really inspired, and I see she's a mover and shaker, and she wants to do this and she wants to do that.
Mhm.
And one thing that we share, Melissa and I share, is we want, when our time has come and ended, for us to be excuse me, for us to be depleted. We've done
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
everything. Even though someone someone may think, oh, that didn't kick off, or you don't have enough views. It don't matter. I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm loving it. So it's a win.
Mhm.
It's a
Exactly.
win. I believe, like
Exactly.
God is like I am. Period.
Yeah. I just want to make one movie. Nobody have to look at it. I just want to make it one
Well, I
movie.
will be making a movie soon. I just don't know what it is yet, but I will be making a movie soon.
Superstar in the making.
I
I
am.
just want to hold the
I am.
bag.
I am. I
I
am.
just want to hold the bag.
Anisha Hines and I will be standing on the same stage, and as she said, she one thing that she said in her speech is like she thought of the Posh conference as the class of 2025, and she is so glad to be a part of the class of 2025 Posh.
Mm.
So I was a part of the class of 2025, and it was so great. So I have to tell her, we're classmates, just like when we
Right.
celebrate our 35th, when we do that at the next level. So this is a great conversation. Um, I just feel rejuvenated again, because before
Mm.
this call it was a little, but it's good. I appreciate you ladies, and I said I'm gonna have to stop saying that word and come up with something new. But the fact that we're doing these reflections, I think it incites our listening audience as to the process of what it is that we thought about when we had our guests. And Melissa is your friend, and you brought her on this show, and she was definitely a delight. She's a mover and a shaker. And
Yeah.
it's just phenomenal guests after phenomenal guests after phenomenal guests for season 6. This is fire. Season 6 is fire. And the fact that we started 2 new portions so we can discuss and have you two come on and shed the light. No gatekeeping. Top tier. Black excellence. Here we are.
Yes. Yes.
So I
Maybe just the
salute you too.
normalizing communication and
Yes.
discussion. I feel like
Yes.
that's what this is, Let's just make it normal to talk with your girlfriends and go and have these discussions and be open and vulnerable and, you know, do the
And that's
things.
how we grow. That's truly how
Yeah,
we grow.
ultimately.
And heal. When we have
Yeah.
these honest conversations, we grow and we heal. We may not want to hear all the stuff. We may
Mm,
not do it right the first, second, third, fourth times. But
mhm,
in order, and if we on that journey to really want to do it right, as I know I am, this is a start. This is a
mhm.
start. And the one thing that I got when I was 12 years old from the Daily News, and I still believe it, today I will build a bridge from where I am to where I want to be.
That's
And
true.
that has been my mantra from the time I was 12 years old to now. And that bridge
Love
is
that.
filling in the blanks with knowledge, love, frustration, anger, laughter, light, motivation, inspiration, empowerment, all of it, all of that.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
love, let's talk about you. And I love you ladies. I love you guys for your insight, your ideas, how to make me a better host, because you guys are making me a better host if I want to do this and that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So how are we going to wrap up today?
My last word is if you want to be on the show and you have a story to share, please either DM us or send us an email. We'll drop the email address in the comments so that you can get it, or just look on our social media pages, you'll find it. But we are opening up for more conversations. We're really enjoying hearing our stories, hearing our visions, sharing. So if you're doing something phenomenal, we want to create platforms for more dialogue. So reach out to us. We might be reaching out to you, but reach out to us.
Yes.
We're open to having very deep conversations about maybe challenging things. We're not afraid to have hard conversations here on Let's Talk About You. So, yeah, join us, drop some comments. Let's have some more dialogue.
Absolutely.
That's
Kiana?
me.
Let me see. What are the last things that I want to say? Other than ditto, please reach out to us. I just want to say how appreciative that I am to have inspirational people around me, to have people that I look up to. I don't think that I think about them often enough until I look back at a thing or I'm experiencing something and I'm like, I wouldn't have even thought that this was possible without XYZ person. So I think that it's really, really important to not only surround yourself with great people, but to really take a second to appreciate all the great work that they've done in your life and to let them know about it. Um,
Mm.
so I'm a big proponent of telling people telling your friends, your family, your loved ones how you feel about them while you can. So I think that what I'm taking away from this is to not only look for more people who I can look up to, but to take stock of the people who have inspired me, who I'm already in my lives, and to just show my appreciation to them.
I love it. I love it. And with
Love.
that, I say, stay blessed on purpose. And thank you for joining us this Sunday.
Thanks.
Bye.
Your dream come to life. That is the mission behind Kiki Creations. We're more than a decorating service. We put our all into taking in every detail of your vision and transforming that into breathtaking events. Whether you're celebrating a wedding, retirement, throwing a massive gala, or having an intimate dinner, let Kiki Creations create the moment of your dreams. Celebrate love, laughter, and the moments that really matter with Kiki Creations.